Hi there, I'm Scott Hall with Moroso Performance, and thanks for joining us for this episode of Moroso TV. Today what we're going to show you is the new style small block Chevy Core pans that Moroso has to offer. Now we've had some inquiries both on phone calls and online that some of these cores have missing bolt holes in them. Well, that's by design by Moroso, and what we'd like to show you in the next few minutes is exactly why we did this and why it's actually going to benefit your application in the fitment on your motor. Whether it's for drag racing or on the street, we're going to show you exactly why this is a fundamental issue that has occurred for so many years with core pans that we have now solved. This pan that I'm going to show you here now is a part number 20196, one of our most popular stroker small block Chevy core pans that we offer. Now when you take a look at the rail, you're going to see that every other bolt hole has been eliminated from this core. Well, this is by design. And the reason it's done like that is so we can put a larger stroker notch when we get our cores built. If we were to keep the bolt hole around the stroker notch, it would be so tight to it, you'd not be able to get a bolt in there. It's going to seal properly to the rail of the pan. So we've eliminated that. But you ask, well, how is this going to seal up properly? Well, a lot of our racing oil pans that we offer, we are only using some of the bolts. And in this case, with a proper gasket on it and the proper sealing technique, you should have no problem being able to put this pan on and not having any leaks. The reason Moroso engineered the cores the way we did was simply based off our small block Chevy race pattern oil pans. Now when you're going to make clearance for a stroke in a small block, you're typically doing around where the connecting rods are. And in that case, it would be this bolt hole, it would be this bolt hole, this one, and this one that are going to typically see the interference of cutting away on the block. Therefore, we've removed these bolt holes from our core. But remaining are the other three bolt holes along the side and still your four corners is more than sufficient enough clamping force to seal the oil pan. Now because the oil level is always below this rail level, you're never going to have any leaking or seepage that you would expect by not having all the bolt holes in it. Typically on a small block Chevy, the larger stroke setups will cause you to have to take a lot more material out based on the ratio from GM from the stroke to the side of the block. Now when you put this oil pan on and seal it up properly, you should have no issues with any type of oil leakage and even making vacuum. This is a design that we've had, and we've had it for a long time, and now it's in these cores that are so important because typically the larger stroke motors are still in the stroke and the RPM range that can utilize a core pan and don't require a fully fab pan to be produced. Well, we're hoping this video is giving you some insight on exactly why we've done this with a stroker notch and eliminating the bolts. Our biggest thing was that we wanted to offer an economical pan to be able to go on a lot of these stroker applications. Now, we say in our catalog about a 4 1/8 stroke, but as with any combination, what's most important is that you have the oil pan on with a gasket, with the rotating assembly being able to turn it by hand to make sure that it clears. Because usually it's the big end of the connecting rod that dictates what will clear the oil pan. Obviously, slight modifications can be made, but you really need to get it to clear without it touching. One other feature we want to point out on these cores is you're going to notice that the core is a lot more squared off than a typical OEM core that usually has a lot shallower front and then grows deeper as it gets toward the sump. The reason we've done this is to keep the proportion of the stroke to the base of the core similar throughout the pan, and it allows us to have a full-length windage tray in it, where typically in the past, as it got from a shallower to a deeper point, we'd have to start these trays farther back. So this core has certainly been designed front to back to accommodate the stroke and the stroker notchers provided. If you have any questions, please contact us at moroso.com or through our tech line. And thanks for tuning in for this episode of Moroso TV.